Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt alone? Truly alone? The kind of solitude where it feels like the world is moving forward while you stand still? Society tells us that being alone is a weakness, that without a crowd around us, we are insignificant. But what if I told you that the greatest strength does not come from the noise of the world, but from the silence within? Think about it. Every great visionary, every trailblazer, every leader has had moments where they stood alone. Not because they were weak, but because they were strong enough to walk a path others were afraid to take. Tonight, I want to challenge the way you see solitude. I want to show you that being alone is not the absence of power. It is the birthplace of it. Stay with me, because by the time we're done, you'll never see being alone the same way again. Being alone is often misunderstood. People associate solitude with weakness, with a lack of support, with being left behind. But the truth is, independence is one of the most powerful traits a person can develop. When you are alone, you are not burdened by the expectations of others. You are free to think, to create, to grow. Independence is not isolation, it is self-sufficiency. It is the ability to stand on your own 2 feet, to rely on yourself when no one else is there, and to move forward without needing permission. In our world, we are conditioned to believe that strength comes from numbers. That a strong person is someone surrounded by allies, someone who has constant validation, someone who moves as part of a collective. But history tells a different story. The strongest individuals, the ones who left an undeniable mark on the world, were often those who stood alone first. They did not wait for approval. They did not seek validation. They trusted their own instincts, their own vision, and their own ability to act. Think about the pioneers of innovation, the artists, the thinkers, the leaders who shaped the world. At some point, every single one of them had to make a decision that no one else understood. They had to walk a path that had not yet been carved. That takes courage. That takes resilience. And that takes the kind of strength that only comes from being comfortable with yourself, by yourself. Being independent means taking full responsibility for your actions, your success, and your failures. It means not blaming others for your circumstances. It means understanding that while support is valuable, it is not a requirement for progress. People who master independence do not wait for someone to give them an opportunity. They create their own. They do not wait for someone to lead the way. They forge their own path. They do not depend on constant encouragement. They find motivation within. This is not to say that we should reject companionship or community, but the reality is people will not always be there. Friends come and go, partners change, family members have their own lives to live. If your strength is tied to the presence of others, then your strength is fragile. True power comes from knowing that even if you find yourself standing alone, you will still stand. Many people fear being alone because it forces them to face themselves. When you are alone, there are no distractions. There is no external noise to drown out your own thoughts. You have to confront your fears, your doubts, your insecurities. And that is exactly why independence is so powerful. Because once you face yourself, once you overcome your own internal resistance, there is nothing left that can break you. We admire people who seem unshakable, people who move with confidence, people who do not waver in the face of adversity. But that kind of strength does not come from the presence of others. It comes from time spent alone, from learning who you are without external influence, from knowing what you stand for, even when no one is watching. Independence means refusing to be controlled by fear, the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, the fear of standing out. It means refusing to conform just to fit in. It means knowing that approval is fleeting, but self-respect lasts forever. When you build your life on external validation, you will always be at the mercy of others. But when you build it on your own principles, your own values, and your own beliefs, you become unshakable. The world belongs to those who dare to stand alone when necessary, those who are not afraid to go against the grain, to challenge the status quo, to step outside the crowd. Not because they dislike people, but because they know that true leadership, true innovation, and true impact start with one person willing to move before anyone else dares to follow. Solitude is often seen as something to be avoided. From a young age, we are taught that being alone is something negative, something to be feared. If you sit by yourself at lunch, people assume you have no friends. If you spend too much time alone, society starts to question your social skills. We live in a world that glorifies constant connection, where being surrounded by people is seen as a measure of success. But solitude is not loneliness. In fact, solitude can be one of the most powerful tools for growth, clarity, and resilience. When you are alone, you are free from external distractions. The world is constantly throwing information at us. Opinions, expectations, judgments. We are surrounded by voices telling us who we should be, what we should do, and how we should live. But when you take a step back, when you remove yourself from the noise, you gain something invaluable: clarity. In solitude, you are able to hear your own voice. You are able to think deeply, to reflect, to ask yourself the important questions. What do I truly want? What do I believe in? What kind of life do I want to build? These are questions that often go unanswered because we are too busy listening to everyone else. The greatest ideas, the boldest innovations, the most profound insights, these things do not come from being surrounded by constant chatter. They come from moments of deep thought, from periods of isolation where the mind is allowed to wander, to explore, to create. Some of the most successful individuals in history understood this. Writers, inventors, philosophers, and leaders have long used solitude as a tool. They retreat from the world, not because they dislike people, but because they know that their best work, their truest selves, emerge when they are alone with their thoughts. There is a strength in solitude that many people fail to recognize. It forces you to become comfortable with yourself. It forces you to confront your own thoughts, your own fears, your own insecurities. When you are constantly surrounded by people, it is easy to distract yourself. It is easy to avoid dealing with the things that make you uncomfortable. But when you are alone, there is nowhere to hide, and that is a good thing. Because once you learn to sit with yourself, once you learn to face whatever is inside you, you become stronger. You develop resilience. You learn that you do not need external validation to feel whole. Solitude is where self-discovery happens. When you are alone, you have the freedom to explore your interests without judgment. You can try new things, take risks, make mistakes, and learn from them without anyone watching. It is in these moments that you discover what truly excites you, what you are passionate about, what makes you feel alive. And once you understand yourself on that level, you become unshakable. You are no longer swayed by trends, by peer pressure, by the need to fit in. You stand firm in who you are, and that is one of the most powerful things a person can achieve. There is a misconception that being alone means being disconnected. But solitude does not mean isolation. It means self-sufficiency. It means being able to enjoy your own company. It means not depending on others for your happiness or your sense of worth. It means having the strength to walk your own path, even if no one else understands it. And ironically, the people who master solitude, the ones who learn to be truly independent, often end up building the strongest connection, because they do not seek relationships out of fear of being alone. They do not cling to others out of insecurity. They enter relationships, whether friendships, partnerships, or professional connections, from a place of confidence, knowing that they are complete on their own. Solitude also teaches patience. In a world that moves at an overwhelming speed, where instant gratification is the norm, being alone slows things down. It teaches you to be present, to appreciate the moment, to find joy in simple things, It allows you to detach from the constant need for approval and instead focus on what truly matters. It is in solitude that you develop the patience to work towards something meaningful without the need for immediate recognition or validation. People often fear being alone because they associate it with weakness. But solitude is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. It takes courage to be alone, to stand apart from the crowd, to trust yourself when no one else is there to reassure you. And those who embrace solitude, who learn to harness its power, become some of the strongest, most resilient individuals in the world. Resilience is not something you are born with. It is something you build. And one of the greatest ways to build resilience is through solitude. When you are alone, there is no safety net, no one to shield you from the realities of life. You are left with only yourself, your thoughts, and your ability to navigate the challenges that come your way. This is where resilience is forged. Because when there is no one else to lean on, you learn to lean on yourself. You learn that no matter what happens, you have the strength to get back up. Many people fear being alone because they associate it with vulnerability. They believe that if they are alone, they are exposed, defenseless against the hardships of life. But the opposite is true. When you are alone, you learn to rely on yourself. You learn to trust your instincts, to make decisions without seeking constant reassurance. And in doing so, you become stronger. You become the kind of person who does not crumble under pressure, who does not break when things get tough. The world is unpredictable. People will come and go. Circumstances will change. Challenges will appear without warning. If your strength depends on the presence of others, then you are always at risk of losing it. But if your strength comes from within, then no external force can take it away from you. That is the power of resilience. It is not about avoiding difficulties. It is about facing them head on, knowing that you have everything you need within you to overcome them. Solitude forces you to confront yourself, and that can be uncomfortable. It is in these moments of solitude that you come face to face with your fears, your insecurities, and your weaknesses. But this is not something to avoid. This is something to embrace. Because only by facing these things can you grow stronger. Only by acknowledging your fears can you learn to overcome them. Only by understanding your weaknesses can you turn them into strengths. People who have never spent time alone often struggle when life throws obstacles their way. They are so used to relying on others for comfort, for direction, for motivation, that when they are left to face a challenge alone, they feel lost. But those who have learned to embrace solitude, those who have built resilience through independence, approach challenges differently. They do not panic. They do not look around for someone to save them. They take a deep breath, assess the situation, and find a way forward. This is why some of the most successful people in the world are those who have endured solitude. They have experienced struggle. They have faced rejection, failure, and disappointment without anyone there to pick them up. And yet, they continued. They kept moving forward. Not because someone told them to, but because they had developed the internal strength to push through. Resilience is not built in moments of comfort. It is built in moments of struggle. It is built in the times when you feel like giving up, but choose to keep going. It is built when you face rejection and still believe in yourself. It is built when you fail, learn from it, and try again. And solitude accelerates this process because it forces you to rely on yourself rather than external sources of motivation. When you are alone, you are responsible for your own progress. There is no one there to remind you to keep going. There is no one there to encourage you when you feel discouraged. It is just you and your choices. And in that space, you learn something powerful. Motivation that comes from within is far stronger than motivation that comes from others, because external motivation is temporary. It fades when the people around you disappear. But internal motivation lasts. It is something that no one can take away from you. Solitude also teaches you how to endure discomfort. Many people avoid being alone because they do not like sitting with their own thoughts. They feel restless, uneasy, as if they need to fill the silence with distractions. But those who embrace solitude learn to be at peace in moments of stillness. They learn that discomfort is not something to run from, it is something to understand. And once you understand it, you gain control over it. The ability to endure discomfort is a key component of resilience. Life is not always easy. There will be moments of uncertainty, of pain, of struggle. If you have never built the ability to sit with discomfort, to accept it without fear, then you will always be controlled by it. But if you have learned to embrace solitude, if you have learned to find strength within yourself, then discomfort loses its power over you. You become unshakable. You become the kind of person who can walk through any storm and come out stronger on the other side. Confidence is not something you inherit, nor is it something that can be given to you by others. True confidence is built step by step through experience, self-awareness, and resilience. And one of the most powerful ways to build unshakable confidence is through solitude. When you are alone, you are forced to rely on your own judgment. You are not constantly seeking approval or validation from those around you. You make decisions based on what feels right to you, and with every decision you strengthen your ability to trust yourself. Many people tie their confidence to external validation. They feel good about themselves when they receive praise, when they are surrounded by supportive friends, when they are told they are on the right path. But what happens? If your confidence depends on the presence of others, then it is fragile. It can be taken away as easily as it is given. True confidence, however, comes from within. It is built through solitude, through learning to trust your own instincts without relying on external reinforcement. When you spend time alone, you start to understand yourself on a deeper level. You become aware of your strengths, your values, and your abilities. You no longer need someone else to tell you that you are capable, because you have proven it to yourself. And that kind of confidence is unbreakable. It is not based on how others perceive you. It is based on your own experiences and self-belief. You learn that you do not need a constant stream of approval to feel secure. You learn that your worth is not determined by how many people support you, but by how well you know and trust yourself. Being alone gives you the space to explore, to experiment, and to take risks without fear of judgment. When you are constantly surrounded by people, you may hesitate to try something new because you are afraid of what others will think. But solitude removes that pressure. It allows you to take chances, to make mistakes, and to learn from them without the fear of being criticized or ridiculed. This process of trial and error strengthens your confidence because you realize that failure is not something to be feared. It is a stepping stone to growth. Confidence is also about self-reliance. When you spend time alone, you develop the ability to solve problems independently. You stop waiting for someone else to provide the answers, and instead you figure things out on your own. This builds a deep sense of competence and assurance. You no longer second-guess yourself at every turn because you have learned that you are capable of handling challenges without external guidance. This self-reliance gives you a quiet, steady confidence that does not waver in the face of uncertainty. Many people mistake arrogance for confidence, but they are not the same. Arrogance is loud, defensive, and often fragile. It requires constant validation and superiority over others. True confidence, on the other hand, is quiet. It does not need to be proven to anyone. It does not seek to dominate or overshadow others. It simply exists. And solitude plays a crucial role in building this kind of quiet confidence. When you spend time alone, you do not need to put on a show. You do not need to impress anyone. You simply learn to be at peace with yourself. The ability to stand alone, to walk your own path without constantly seeking reassurance, is one of the most powerful forms of confidence. It means that you do not make decisions based on what is popular or socially accepted. You make decisions based on what is right for you. It means that you do not feel the need to compare yourself to others because you are focused on your own journey. It means that you do not fear being different because you have learned to embrace who you are without needing approval. Solitude also allows you to develop an inner dialogue that is constructive rather than destructive. When people lack confidence, it is often because they have a negative internal voice. One that doubts, criticizes, and undermines their abilities. But when you spend time alone, you have the opportunity to change that voice. You become more aware of how you talk to yourself, and you can actively work on replacing self-doubt with self-assurance. Instead of telling yourself, I am not good enough, you start telling yourself, I am learning, I am growing, I am capable. This shift in mindset is what separates those who struggle with confidence from those who exude it effortlessly. People who are confident in solitude do not fear being alone because they have learned that their strength does not come from external sources. They have spent time getting to know themselves, understanding their values and trusting their abilities. They do not need constant affirmation because they have already affirmed themselves. They do not need to seek permission to chase their dreams, because they have already given themselves that permission. They do not waver when faced with doubt, because they have faced themselves in solitude and emerged stronger. Spending time alone also teaches you how to stand firm in your beliefs. When you are constantly surrounded by others, it is easy to be swayed by their opinions. But when you take the time to think independently, to reflect without external influence, you develop a strong sense of personal conviction. You learn to trust your own judgment, even when it goes against the majority. You no longer feel the need to conform for the sake of fitting in, because you have developed the confidence to stand on your own. Confidence is not about pretending to be fearless. It is about acknowledging your fears and moving forward anyway. It is about trusting yourself even when the outcome is uncertain. And solitude is one of the greatest teachers of this lesson. When you embrace solitude, you strip away the need for external validation. You stop waiting for someone else to tell you that you are enough, because you already know that you are. In life, we are often told that strength comes from the support of others. We are encouraged to surround ourselves with people who lift us up, who provide guidance and encouragement, who give us the strength to carry on when things get tough. While this kind of support is valuable, there is another kind of strength that comes from within, a strength that is developed in solitude. When you are alone, you are forced to confront your challenges head-on, without the help or comfort of others. It is in these moments of solitude that your true strength is revealed. Being alone does not make you weak, it makes you strong. When you are alone, you are in a position to truly test your limits. You are forced to rely on your own resources, to dig deep within yourself to find the courage, resilience, and determination to keep going. There is no one else to turn to for reassurance, no one else to help you through the tough time. It is just you and the challenges you face. And it is in this struggle that you discover your own strength. People often fear being alone because they believe that it means they are vulnerable. They fear that without the support of others, they will be exposed, defenseless, and unable to cope with the difficulties of life. But this fear is misguided. In fact, solitude can be one of the most empowering experiences you can have. It is in solitude that you learn to rely on your own abilities, to trust your instincts, and to make decisions without seeking approval from others. When you are alone, you are free from the noise and distractions of the world. There are no outside opinions, no pressure to conform to the expectations of others. You are able to connect with yourself on a deeper level, to hear your own thoughts and desires without interference. This clarity of mind allows you to make decisions that are aligned with your true values, not the opinions of others. You begin to trust yourself more, to have confidence in your ability to navigate life's challenges without relying on anyone else for validation. Strength does not come from avoiding difficulty. It comes from facing it head-on. When you are alone, you are forced to confront your fears, your doubts, and your insecurities. There is no one to shield you from the discomfort, no one to soften the blows, but it is in this discomfort that you grow. You learn that you can handle more than you thought possible. You learn that your resilience is greater than you ever realized, and with every challenge you overcome, you grow stronger. Solitude teaches you the value of independence. It forces you to become self-sufficient, to solve problems on your own without relying on others to provide the answers. When you are alone, there is no one to lean on, no one to take the burden off your shoulders. You learn to carry your own weight, to take responsibility for your own life. This independence is a powerful form of strength, one that cannot be taken away by external circumstances. It is a strength that comes from within, built through experience, self-reliance, and the willingness to face life's challenges without fear. One of the greatest sources of strength that solitude provides is the ability to be honest with yourself. When you are alone, there is no one else to impress, no one else to hide your true thoughts and feelings from. You can no longer pretend to be something you are not. You are forced to face yourself, to acknowledge your flaws, your weaknesses, and your mistakes. But this honesty is liberating. It allows you to accept yourself for who you truly are. And in doing so, you find a deep sense of strength. You realize that you do not need to be perfect to be strong. You do not need to have all the answers or to have everything figured out. You simply need to be true to yourself. When you are alone, you also have the opportunity to build a deeper connection with your inner self. You can reflect on your past, learn from your experiences, and gain insights that will help you move forward. Solitude gives you the time and space to process your thoughts, to understand your emotions, and to make sense of your life's journey. This introspection is not only a source of strength, it is also a source of wisdom. The more time you spend alone, the more you come to understand who you are, what you want, and what you are capable of. Solitude is also a powerful tool for building resilience. Life is full of challenges, and sometimes we are faced with situations that feel overwhelming. But when you have spent time alone, you learn how to cope with difficulty in a way that is calm and measured. You learn that you do not need to panic when things go wrong. You learn that you have the strength to weather any storm, to find a way through even the darkest of times. This resilience is something that can only be developed through experience. It cannot be learned in the company of others, where distractions and comforts mask the reality of life's challenges. Resilience is built in the silence of solitude, when you are left alone with your thoughts and your struggles. Through solitude, you discover that you are capable of far more than you think. You learn that you do not need to rely on others for strength, for motivation, or for direction. You have everything you need within yourself. The more time you spend alone, the more you realize that your strength is not dependent on the presence of others. It is something that comes from within, something that is yours to cultivate, nurture, and grow. And once you discover this strength, nothing can take it away from you. There is a misconception that to be strong, you must always be surrounded by others. The idea that strength is rooted in companionship, in the support of others, is a deeply ingrained belief in our society. We are often told that we need people by our side to face the challenges that life throws at us. However, real strength is not always about having a team behind you or relying on the help of others. The true essence of strength can be discovered when you are alone. It is in the solitude of your own company that you will find the most powerful and transformative strength. When you are alone, there is no one else to depend on, no one else to distract you from the work that you need to do, no one else to give you the reassurance you crave. Alone, you must face your fears, your doubts, and your insecurities head on. The act of being alone is often seen as a vulnerability, as if being without others leaves us weak. But in reality, solitude reveals the strength that already exists within us. When we are isolated, we must rely on our own resources, our own willpower, and our own ability to solve problems. In this way, we cultivate the most authentic form of strength, because it is the strength that comes from within. Solitude is not something to be feared. It is not something to avoid. Instead, it is something to embrace. It is in those moments when you are alone that you can truly discover who you are, what you are capable of, and how much strength you possess. When there are no outside influences to distract or sway you, you have the opportunity to hear your own voice, to understand your own needs, and to trust in your own judgment. It is through this process that you begin to learn that you are enough on your own, that you do not need others to complete you or to validate your worth. One of the most powerful aspects of solitude is that it forces you to rely on your own decisions. There are no other voices telling you what to do, no one else trying to steer you in a different direction. You are left to make choices based on your own instincts, your own values, and your own desires. It is in these moments that your inner strength is truly tested. You learn to trust yourself, to believe that you are capable of making the right decisions, even in the face of uncertainty. And with each decision you make, you build confidence in your own ability to navigate life's challenges. The truth is that being alone allows you to confront your weaknesses without the distraction of others. When we are constantly surrounded by people, we often seek comfort, and in that comfort we avoid dealing with the parts of ourselves that need growth. But when you are alone, you have no choice but to face the things that make you feel vulnerable. This confrontation with your own weaknesses is an opportunity for growth. It is an opportunity to see where you can improve, to acknowledge your flaws without shame, and to work toward becoming the best version of yourself. In solitude, you learn that weakness is not something to be hidden or feared, but something that can be transformed into strength. Many people fear the silence that comes with being alone. They fear the emptiness that might arise when they are without the company of others. But in reality, silence is one of the most powerful tools for personal growth. It is in silence that you find clarity. It is in silence that you hear your true thoughts, the ones that are often drowned out by the noise of the world. In the absence of distractions, you have the space to reflect, to process your emotions, and to understand your true desires. It is in this space of solitude that you can truly tap into your own strength and learn to rely on yourself. Alone, you discover resilience. You learn that you can withstand hardship, that you are capable of handling whatever life throws at you. Solitude reveals to you that you do not need to seek validation from others to feel strong. You are strong because you have learned to stand on your own, to take responsibility for your life and your actions. When you are alone, you are free to explore your own thoughts and feelings, to experience life on your own terms. This freedom allows you to become more self-aware, more self-sufficient, and more capable of facing the challenges that come your way. Another crucial aspect of solitude is the opportunity it provides to cultivate self-love. When you are constantly surrounded by others, it is easy to become dependent on their approval and attention. But in solitude, you must learn to love and appreciate yourself. You learn to be kind to yourself, to accept your flaws and celebrate your strengths. Solitude teaches you that you are worthy of love and respect, not because of what others think of you, but because of the person you are at your core. It is in this self-love that you find the deepest form of strength. When you embrace solitude, you also learn to become comfortable with discomfort. Alone, you are forced to sit with your emotions, to process the difficult moments in your life without the crutch of external support. This discomfort is not something to run from, it is something to lean into. It is through discomfort that we grow. It is through facing our fears and anxieties that we build the mental and emotional strength to persevere. Solitude gives you the space to embrace discomfort and to emerge from it stronger and more resilient. The strength that comes from being alone is not always immediate. It is something that is built over time, through patience, introspection, and self-reflection. But once you have experienced the power of solitude, You will never underestimate your own strength again. You will realize that you are capable of far more than you thought possible, and that the greatest source of strength comes not from the people around you, but from within yourself.